I'm late. It's time to call this to order, and we get an update from Mr. Fred.
So as we all know, they extended the stay-at-home order until 11:59 on May 17th. So I would say probably in the next week or so, we'll hear an update on that. I'm still working on that email I got from my Nez about the flowers.
Yeah.
I don't know. As we all read over these executive orders, they're not the easiest thing to interpret. So it's gonna take me a little bit to work on that. And then Belinda sent me an email this morning about Central Care wanting a donation bin or trying to collect masks. So we got something set up for that here.
Do you have any suggestion on that flower thing? I mean, it's just like,
I don't know about the flower thing.
oh, yeah, well, they have a
Fundraiser.
fundraiser.
They sell flowers.
They sell flowers. They wanted to do it outside and spread out, but,
So,
you know,
I mean, it's retail, but it's a fundraiser.
she asked me, and I said, I've got no clue.
I guess I would look at this no different than maybe the floral shops and the garden shops.
Mhm.
And it's my understanding those are available to be open for business, so I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be able to.
That and farmers markets as well are open, so.
I mean, I would tell them, if you've got a way to keep your distance, maybe, have your plants out there and then,
They had
table.
They had a drop bucket for donation. It's a donation type thing, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
But, and no other nonprofit, they're all shut down too. I mean, there's two ways to look at, not that I'm trying to throw water on it or whatever. I just don't want them to get,
I mean, other nonprofits could do it, right? We're not saying they can't.
Could
This
they?
is just something that the area center does every year as part of
I
their.
don't know. I wouldn't have a problem with it if they did, but I don't want someone to,
I guess my position is if they did it, somebody called in, we wouldn't, as long as they were socially distancing, we wouldn't be telling them no.
yeah.
I mean, if a private business can do it and they're operating in the same capacity, selling flowers, selling stuff like that, then I see no reason why the area center can't operate and function under the same guidelines that those folks are. As long as they're keeping their distance and they're following those other, the other rules.
Yeah.
I guess the nonprofit is, one of those things, but I think there are probably still some nonprofits that are still functioning.
Yeah.
I mean, the Red Cross is still up and running. I don't know that they're for profit.
Was they're taking donations, I suppose this would be similar, but yeah, I don't
I
know.
mean, the area center is still doing, as far as I know, they're delivering Meals on Wheels to people too. So they are still in some capacity functioning.
Well, they're doing frozen.
Yeah, they're doing frozen, but they're still
Yeah.
delivering to people, so.
Yeah, those services, but technically they're not retail, but we could call them retail for a day. Yeah,
I guess from the PD side, I don't see any issues as long as they're socially distancing and following the other guidelines.
yeah, I think that's kind of what I
Yeah.
indicated too in my last sentence, is that if it happened, it happened, and no one would probably say anything. But,
Yeah, these executive orders are not the easiest to read, so. And then also, after the public safety meeting, we found out that the fire department doesn't carry hand sanitizer in most of their fire trucks. So we stocked up on some hand sanitizer. I think we got 15 gallons of it right now, to hopefully get us through this. So each fire truck, each squad car is gonna be equipped with hand sanitizer. That way we have enough for the liquor store and City Hall if they're allowed to open up again on May 18th.
anything else on that?
Do we have an update for Stearns County or any numbers?
I think it was up to 789 this morning for confirmed cases and then 2 deaths. But there was a drop in deaths overnight. It seemed like there wasn't as many as there was all weekend, so I think it was down to 9 today for the entire state.
Okay. Update on the city administrator position search.
Got an email from Liza on Friday, just saying that the finalists from Michigan had provided an update saying that the governor in Michigan has extended the stay-at-home until May 28th.
Yep.
And the legislature there has filed a lawsuit to overturn the extension. If the state of Minnesota lifted their order by May 18th, he could travel outside the state for an interview or work because he believes the city administrator position is an essential duty. And Liza's just wanting to know what the council would like to do as far as the 18th and 19th plans. They want to, again, those three options.
I don't know.
I'm kind of at the point where I would probably rather just put the halt on this and repost the job in somewhere down the road, July maybe, when things are a little bit more settled.
What would, refresh me now on how that would affect our agreement with Liza and,
I believe when she was here last time, she said that it would not be any extra money to postpone it.
That was a month ago though, right?
Yes.
Then we said we're gonna keep going.
You rescheduled it for May 18th and 19th.
But I believe we rescheduled with the knowledge that,
Yes.
you know, things may change again when the time came, so.
I think there's merit to that. My concern is that if we repost it in July, that means we don't get somebody on board until December, at the earliest probably. And
I think like October, November was her time frame when she sent us out that initial options.
yeah. You know, my concern too is that, you know, the time and, you know, we're heading into budget time now, which is a fairly important aspect in what we do as a city. You know, we could certainly, it's probably not the right term, muddle through it, but, you know, we do have the, you know, the knowledge and experience to do that, but it'd be nice to have an administrator to be a part of that.
I don't think it's really fair to drag everybody through a month and then say, oh, by the way, we decided not to do it anymore. And we have 5 people waiting.
We have 4 people waiting at this
Yeah.
point, but I mean, you know, not to overuse the term unprecedented, I'm sure that these candidates all understand that things are really up in the air for everybody right now. And I think,
And they could certainly reapply.
right, they could reapply when we do post it again. As far as the budget thing, I don't know that bringing a new person into our city who's not very familiar with the city would really be all that helpful in terms of putting our budget together. And I feel like probably a lot of that responsibility is going to fall on our interim administrators anyway, who, in my opinion, are doing a really great job right now. And I feel very confident that even if it was December before we brought somebody new on board, they would be able to handle it just fine. And
Oh, I'm sure they'd be able to handle it. I just think of the, you know, the learning process that's lost during that time. I have no reason to question the capability of existing staff, department heads to do that, but, I don't know. And would we give the 4 that we have selected, automatically include them in as 4 candidates in our next one? You know, if we want to be fair to them all around, how would we make them, you know, throw them into the barrel again too? And,
I mean, they got a lot of time in it too, also just doing all the interviews and everything else.
I think we also have the concern about a flare-up of this in the fall again. And I don't think, I mean, even if we do have some sort of restrictions, it's not going to be what we're seeing now, but NPR was just talking about how this mirrors the 1918 flu, and that saw another flare-up in the fall that was almost as bad as the original. And I have no doubt, as, you know, I think everyone else, that everyone on staff could get through this. But I'm also sympathetic to the fact that Ron and Belinda didn't ask to be interim city administrators. We appointed them that and added a lot of work to their plates every day. Neither one has asked that we take that away from them anytime soon, but I'm sympathetic that it's warmer now and they might want to do something on their nights.
I prefer continuing on and seeing what happens, and
I guess my other thought on it is, I don't know how much research anybody else has done into these candidates, but I don't think that any of them are highly impressive to me. And so I also feel like if we post it again somewhere down the road, we may have more options.
Neil hasn't said
I
anything.
somewhat agree with that line of thought. I think there may be better candidates out there, and we should maybe, as long as it doesn't cost us additional money to run a second round, kind of in favor of that.
You realize you get worse candidates too, right?
That's always a risk you take.
anybody, you know, I haven't paid attention to movements in city administrator positions across the state or whatever. I suspect there has not been a lot of resignations or moving around. You know, I think our pool would end up being pretty close to the same. So I don't see really any value of waiting, or the values of proceeding, to me, outweigh the values of waiting.
I think one risk as we look at who we might lose, there are a couple who are employed by cities already. And if those cities were to, I mean, it went out in a public press release that we were interviewing them. That could make their current employer a little more competitive to us.
There's only one that's currently employed by a city.
Was the other one, oh no, he took a different position.
Yeah.
Yep. There was an EDA director. Yep.
There's, I believe, two that were recently unemployed in their city administrator positions, and one that works for the Red Cross.
Well, as it stands right now, we're continuing, unless there's that was the last decision the council made.
Well, I guess I'll make a motion then to put the hiring process on hold and repost the job in July.
I'll second that.
A motion by LeBeau, seconded by Hertzberg, to put the hiring process on hold and repost in July. Discussion on that? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. No.
I oppose also. That does not carry. Okay, anything else?
Just a point of order, I guess, we can go ahead, but at the end of the day, after if we feel, the majority feels the final four don't meet our criteria, we're gonna end up right where we are now, right? we can restart the process at that point, no additional fee.
That would be a question, I guess,
I would
for
have to ask Eliza.
Liza.
I mean, we don't have to necessarily hire one of the four if we don't feel they
No.
meet our criteria.
No,
So as it stands now, we're continuing with the interviews that we have scheduled for May 18th and 19th.
yep.
And you, full board, just like it was before?
Yep.
Okay.
It may make sense to check in on that next Monday as well.
Can you ask Liza that question about if we end up not hiring any of the four finalists and we start over? Is that, do we incur a fee? Okay.
All right, thank you. Merger. Stay healthy.